Did South Africa know about October 7th? This is crazy, brother. Well, there's a massive accusation against the South African government right now. October 7th, do you know what October 7th? When the big mayhem happened in Israel, and that's what supposedly escalated things into what's happening right now in Gaza. Now, there's a massive accusation against the South African government. A $400 million lawsuit is being prepared in the US against the South African president, Cyril Ramaphosa. So what they say is, at the center of the accusation, the South African government knowingly collaborated with Hamas ahead of October 7th attack on Israel, attack in which at least 47 American citizens were unalived or taken hostage. So what they're saying is the South African government knew exactly when and how things were going to happen in Israel, and on top of that, they did provide not only rhetorical support but financial. This is big, my brother. But before we get to that, I think it's a very, very hard conversation. This is crazy. Let's talk about what's happening in 7 days in South Africa. My brother, if you are South African or you live in South Africa, you better be prepared, because in 7 days, a major tariff climb of 30% will hit South Africa in the face from the United States of America. This means a lot of things are going to be expensive, and a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said this poses a significant threat to the South African economy. He says the imposition of those tariffs will have a negative impact on us, and our producers are already feeling the pressure that is coming. So, we need to understand where the world is going, okay? I mean, in many times we tend to like our countries without necessarily understanding how our country functions. Do our country actually need other countries? Do our countries actually need other countries? Now, what are these tariffs? You're probably asking yourself. Well, the tariff hit South Africa on the 2nd of April when President Trump made the announcement. He said tariff would hit South Africa by the 9th of April. However, he wanted to give South Africa an opportunity to come and discuss before acting. And what did he do? He extended 90 days. So, okay, he said by the 9th, you're going to be hit with tariff. Then he said, okay, I'm not doing it on the 9th. I'm going to give you 90 days to come and beg. If you don't beg accordingly, well, you're going to suffer. So what tariffs are these? 30%. From now on, all exports from South Africa to the United States of America will have 30% increase on tariffs. So if you didn't spend any money to take your things to the United States of America, from now on, to the value of your product, you have to pay 30%. And this is a major blow. You have no idea. I mean, a lot of you guys think your country runs by... No, it doesn't run alone. It needs other countries to function. And we're going to explain this. Now, how will this impact South Africans? About 8% of the total export of South Africa goes to the United States of America. 8%. That's almost 10. That's a lot. One country. And as much as 8% sounds small to you, 8% represents approximately 157 billion rand. That's almost $1 billion of exports to the United States of America. Therefore, South Africa is dependent on the US. Why? Because South Africa exports to the US using AGOA. What is AGOA? AGOA is a system Americans created for Africans. Basically, we're going to give you AGOA. It's like a cake for you. But if you don't do things the way we want them, then we're going to take it away from you. Okay, let me give you better context. AGOA is a system that allows African nations to export their goods to the US. So if you sell orange, bananas, just giving you an example, you want to export to the US, you don't have to pay tariffs at the border. This means you have a much bigger lands, much bigger number of people to sell to, and great opportunity. Now, the good news is American buyers can buy more expensive than African buyers. So many African people and nations were very happy about that because it created more jobs and more opportunities. Now, they never really planned for alternative, because on the other end of the token is if you don't do things the way America wants you to do them, if you don't vote for them, if you don't pledge for them, if you don't embrace their policies, well, they might just take away AGOA. Yeah, if you speak too nicely to the Russians and Chinese, well, they're going to take away AGOA. Now, AGOA is not permanent. AGOA is renewable. So we're going to look at how you function with us for a number of months, and then we'll decide whether we want to renew your AGOA or not. So that's a good way to check nations into doing things the way America wants them to do it. Well, unfortunately for South Africa, we have to say this. South Africa exports a lot of goods to the United States using AGOA. It's great for the people. Good jobs, opportunities in many areas. However, the lack of diversity will hit South Africa very hard. What does South Africa export to the US? South African citrus export to the US, supporting 35,000 jobs. So 35,000 jobs in South Africa are created based on the export to the United States of America of oranges and lemon and lime and stuff like that, So if this happens, then about 35,000 people are going to lose their jobs. Number 2, South Africa exports cars. We have BMW and Mercedes. C-Class, they are put together in South Africa. In matter of fact, Eastern Cape, they have massive plants of Mercedes. What has this done? It has created many, many jobs for South Africans and also transferring intelligentsia and technology. So South Africans are now capable of building Mercedes cars by themselves without the German. And America is the biggest buyer of South African Mercedes. Now, when you hit them with 30% tax, it makes things crazy. Number 1, you don't necessarily get the money and the return that you want. Number 2, people lose their jobs because there isn't as much money to play with as it is before. Well, the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, sent very promptly a high-level delegation of key ministers and representatives to go and discuss with Donald Trump group. But unfortunately, there are news saying that the group is not necessarily being responded to appropriately. So it's like somebody has an issue with you, but you're coming to trying to talk to them and they sort of side-eyeing you and like, okay, just wait out there. I'll see you in 30 minutes. Oh, sorry, I'm a bit busy, but let's wait for 1 hour. That's what they're saying. The report says the envoys of South Africa to the US to negotiate right now are seeing very high hurdles, very difficult situation. They don't know how to climb the walls. They're making it very particularly difficult for them. Reports have pointed at South African negotiation team being left on the hold. President Ramaphosa says it's not truth. He says we are talking to them and they are talking to us. We are exchanging a whole lot of ideas and proposals, and we're hoping that those negotiations will bear fruit in the coming days. Well, it's been almost 90 days since they hit them the first time. Is this really about negotiation or other things we're not looking at? Well, if you look into the past, it's very easy. South Africa has become a very good friend with China and Russia. So one of the good ways to get them to look back to the United States of America is to slap them with tax. 30%. Oh, matter of fact, the 30% annihilate the AGOA agreement. So South Africa right now cannot export to the US without any tax. It's going to hit you in your plate. I'm telling you. You maybe don't see it. It's going to hit you in your wallet. It's going to hit you in your wallet. Now, because South Africa and Russia and China are very good friends right now. And that's not in the interest of the United States of America. So Trump, even though officially it looks like, okay, we're hitting you with tax because we don't have access to your market to the level you have access to my market, the reality may be different. South Africa is a very good friend to Russia. Oh, South Africa is a very good friend to China. These are competitors to the United States of America. Oh, South Africa is one of the founding members of BRICS, which is something America doesn't necessarily support, especially not the conservative. Remember, South Africa hosted a joint military exercise with Russia and China in February 2023. Again, South Africa allowed the sanctioned Russian ship, the Lady R, to dock secretly. Well, this is not confirmed because the South African government rejected this, but this is something that they're looking at. Again, number 6, South Africa avoided condemning Russia in Ukraine war. Now, what could be the big one here? The big one could be, well, South Africa took the country you don't name to court. Yes, for genocide and other stuff. And that is something Donald Trump doesn't stand for. So as much as you may try to think whatever you want to think about, in December 2023, South Africa filed a case against the country you don't name at ICJ, accusing of committing genocide against Pale, you know what I mean, in Gaza. They were very brave. I mean, it was a team of high-level lawyers. They said that country violated the 1948 Genocide Convention, which both countries are signatory of. I mean, remember that convention and stuff was signed, created because they lived a very horrendous moment in Germany. Therefore, they had to sign such thing. And South Africa accused them. To the shock of everybody, even though the ICJ did not necessarily recognize it as a genocide, they said they take account, they accepted the case and issued a provisional measure ordering the country you don't have to prevent acts of genocide against other people. So it's not a good reputation. You know, what can South Africa do right now? Find alternatives. And they're speaking about it. It's a good thing. They never mentioned it before. I know there's a lot of South Africans who think South Africa can do by itself in Africa. No, my brother. It's very difficult. And I think time is very slowly turning to show that. Okay? I know. I know the thinking behind this is we have all these foreigners that think they can come to our country and create mayhem. And we can completely comprehend that, especially for the people that are doing negative violence, stealing, robbing people, unaliving people in your country. It's bad. Taking jobs and stuff. Not a good thing. However, does it change the fact that Every African needs another African country to move forward. It doesn't change that fact. And what can South Africa do right now? South Africa has to create alternatives. We have Brazil, we have China, we have Russia, and there is a possibility for it to do it. Now, the question is, why hasn't South Africa done that yet? Number two, Trump hit South Africa with a sanction and with tariffs. And he said if South Africa dares to retaliate by hitting the US with tariffs, it's going to be bad. Now, for the normal African person, you say, if you hit me with tariff, I'm going to hit you with tariffs back. But Cyril Ramaphosa has not done that. Okay, he's been very calm about it. He's been very diplomatic. Now, does it make him a coward or does it make him a smart man who's trying to do the good things, trying to resolve issues in the most neutral and peaceful way possible? Let me know how you feel about that. Can you resolve any situation with power? That's the question we have here. The bottom line is this, brothers, and this is for every African. Africa need to wake up, okay? If you start selling your things to the neighbors, it's going to spare you the problems of going to the very far away person who doesn't give a continental about you to sell them stuff. Especially if they have many dealings and they want you to be agreeable to them in everything they do. You cannot survive in Africa by yourself. It's not possible. Europe understood that. Therefore, they have the European Union. You cannot. America is a union of many states. It's many small countries. They have their own governors and stuff. That's why they're so powerful. If you try to represent yourself as yourself, it's going to be very difficult. Now, is South Africa wrong by taking that country to court? Question mark. Now, is South Africa wrong by diversifying its friends, being friends with the Russians and the Chinese? Question mark. Is South Africa wrong by trying to be independent and making its own things? Question mark. Now, are you going to be suppressed because you choose China and Russia as friends and Brazil? Is this freedom? Let me know how you feel about this, fellas. I know Africa has issues. Now, what are the most difficult issues Africa has? Africa has infrastructure, logistic, and financial constraints still need to be addressed to maximize its potential, because it's very difficult to export things to another African country when the roads are not good. It's very difficult to have a trade agreement if prices on one side of the border and the other side of the border are different. It's very difficult if the corruption, the stealing, the looting is not attended to. It's very difficult if the African people are seeing every possibility to make money as a potential way to steal money. It's very difficult. Let me know how you feel about this. The bottom line is the problems of Africans can only be resolved by Africans. Nobody from elsewhere can do it for you. God bless.